skeptical about the effectiveness of slow practice? Maybe you feel relatively comfortable in the slower tempo, but then you find it really difficult to perform expressively and accurately at your target tempo. Slow practice can be an amazing key to achieving technical or musical breakthroughs on your instrument. But like practice itself, it requires a variety of strategies in order to maximize its effectiveness and avoid common pitfalls. In this series of videos, I'll be sharing strategies and techniques to help you effectively leverage the benefits of slow practice. Throughout this process, you'll be deepening your skills and confidence in playing throughout each stage of learning and performing your music. It seems pretty clear that slow practice is really important, given that world-renowned violinist Itzhak Perlman's most common piece of advice to musicians seeking his autograph is to practice slowly. Sounds simple, right? It's a fairly common concept. Practice slowly. I would guess that every single classical musician watching this video has had at least one teacher who talked about slow practice. Personally, all of my instrument teachers have advocated slow practice. But not all slow practice is created equal. Depending on what types of slow practice they engage in, some people will experience wonderful results, while others flounder in frustration. I want you to be in the first category. So, what do you think of first when I say slow practice? Probably the most common basic slow practice technique is to play or work on the piece in a slower tempo while maintaining the dynamics, articulation, etc. Then gradually you increase the tempo with the aid of a metronome, aiming for the same level of accuracy even at the faster tempos until you achieve your final desired tempo. I'm a huge fan of slow practice, but not when it's limited to this format. While in theory this is a good strategy, in practice it doesn't always work that well. But why? Well, it's very difficult to literally play a piece in a considerably slower tempo, maintaining the same dynamics, articulations, and phrasing that you're going to use in your final faster tempo. Most of the time with this technique, I would think I was doing it, but actually, and unfortunately, I wasn't. So, what usually happens instead? So in scenario 1, we might fall into prioritizing notes first rather than the musical expression. Depending on how long you stay in this slow practice stage, it can be difficult or even near impossible to add in the musical phrasing and expression later on in a way that feels natural and integrated to both you and your audience. And it's worth considering if your technical decisions are not based on musical ones. Is your temporary accuracy really that valuable? Even if this were possible, it's ineffective to put time and energy into many repetitions just to get the notes, and then have to repeat it so many more times over to infuse these notes with the musical expression and meaning. In scenario 2, you act very musically, so you adjust the dynamics, articulations, and phrasing to fit in the slower tempo. With each faster tempo, however, your musical decisions for the previous tempo may not work at all anymore, and you may have to start over from scratch. Looking on the positive side, developing flexibility in musical phrasing could be helpful. But relearning physical movements for a specific piece is often really frustrating and ineffective when you have time deadlines like lessons and recitals. In scenario 3, you temporarily change the tempos of different sections depending on their difficulty for you. Let's say you can play most of the piece in a close to tempo speed, but there's a few tricky spots that you really have to slow down in order to work on effectively. In the short term, this can seem like a good idea. For most of the piece, you are prioritizing the musical expression and learning correct physical movements. And there's only a few spots that you'll have to bring up to speed later and fine-tune the musical expression. However, your sense of the big picture trajectory of the music can all too easily morph into a lopsided perspective of reality. Transitioning between the easy and tricky spots is hard to accomplish in a way that's seamless and natural. And the global musical phrasing, given the different tempo proportions, may not work once you have it all up to the same speed. There are various ways to deal with the problems often encountered in the basic slow practice technique, and they all start with actually knowing what they are so that you can know how to effectively counter or avoid them. Just applying this knowledge alone to the basic slow practice technique will help you to get better results. But if you're like me, the basic slow practice technique often feels difficult, boring, and ironically slow. And that's if you manage to avoid the many pitfalls. So in the next few videos in this series, I'll be sharing breakthrough techniques and strategies that are creatively fulfilling, fun, and effective. These can totally revolutionize your practice success. Remember to click subscribe to be notified when each video comes out. You're not going to want to miss them. If you found this video helpful, consider sharing it with a friend. And check out the other videos on my channel. They're all designed to help you discover and develop your unique potential as a classical musician. Thanks for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.